Hey y'all, good morning and welcome to my Simply Southern Garden. Today I have the honor of collaborating with a couple of my gardening friends on some of the things that we learned this year in our gardens. So a big thank you to DeBorrah for inviting me to this collaboration today. DeBorrah lives in Georgia and she has a YouTube channel called Inspiring Garden Corner. And I'm also going to be in collaboration with Cara. She has a YouTube channel that she hosts in Virginia called Bluebird Homestead. And then also I'll be working with another Betty that's in Georgia, and she is with the Dunwoody Garden Club. I'll post all their socials in the description below, so make sure that you go and check out their channels as well. So let's get started. I am going to flip the camera around and show you what we have done and the challenges that we have faced this year in our garden. So I'm going to start off here at the front of our house. Our house, as you can tell, we are in the mid-afternoon. It's about 12:30, and our house is in full sun. So our house is facing the south here, and we get a lot of sun all from the morning into the late afternoon. So this side of our house does get a little bit more shade in the afternoon as the sun starts going down. But as you can see, it's still, even with the tree line over here on the side, it still gets a tremendous amount of light. We did, our neighbors did have a large tree that was cut down this year, so that has added more light into this area. This area when we started was all grass, and it had a fabric underneath the grass. So I think originally it was supposed to be a big flower bed, but this house was a rental house for 12 years, and the renters had just let the grass grow into the flower bed. So we meaning my daughter, took a sod cutter and cut up all the sod, which was very difficult with the landscape fabric underneath. Took all of this out, and then we added in compost, and then on top of the compost, the pine straw. We decided to use pine straw here because we have a lot of pine trees, and the pine straw naturally falls into our yard. So one of the biggest things that we've had to learn moving here to a new property is where the light is at. So this flower bed has been really ideal for planting the boxwoods because they can adjust to lots of sun or little sun, and they have excuse me, done really great here. We also have a little patch of miniature roses here, and they have been doing well as well. As we go along here, we do have a little struggle with getting so much light in the afternoons with our hydrangeas. So our hydrangeas are dormant right now, but you can see the little sticks there from the hydrangeas. It is a little hot in the afternoon for the hydrangeas, and we do have them on a drip irrigation for those purposes. Then as you go on to the left side of the house, the same thing here. We get a lot of sun, and now thinking about it, I probably would have waited and not planted these incredible hydrangeas along the front here. So we'll just have to see how they do next year. But in the late afternoons, there is a tremendous amount of sun on this side of the house, and you can tell the incredibles get wilty super fast. So maybe we may have to change those out and put those somewhere else in the garden. Now the boxwoods over here are doing really well, and they like this situation that they're in. They probably have grown double in size from when we got them. And then also the Nepeta, of course, loves all of the sun, and it has been doing great. So that would be one of the things that we may have to change, is taking out these incredibles and maybe putting a limelight in that can withstand a little bit more of that light in the hot afternoons. Okay, so the second thing that we learned about this year was about the water situation. So let me turn the camera around and kind of show you what we have learned living here for a year and the water situations that we've encountered. Okay, so I am on the left side of our house, and you would think when you would buy a house, you know, you see the gutters coming down, that's great, it's going to take care of the water. But with our gutter system, it would just run down, had a little downspout, so I had to add an extension, it's underneath the pine straw there, to get the water from the downspout out into the driveway, because what happens is that water wants to pool all through here on this area where the pine straw is at. Also, another situation that we're going to have to address in the future is this area right here over top of the garage has no gutter, and so this little corner right here drips down, and it does the same thing as the downspout would be, but there's no way to direct it, and so it just fills this area. So this area on the front of our house, even though it gets full sun throughout the day, this is one of our squishiest areas in our property. So we had some little miniature gardenias through here, and they just could not withstand all the water pressure. So we ended up taking those out, and we added in some different flowers that hopefully will be able to withstand the water a little bit better. And then also with the Nepeta, these here were getting a little bit too much water, these last two. So that was one of the areas of water concern that we've had with this front garden bed. Here is another one of our downspouts on the front. We've also added another gutter extender, and it comes out to about right here. Ideally, we would have wanted to have it a little bit longer so it could extend out into the sidewalk and try to keep that excess water off of these flowers here. We have added in drip irrigation system, and you can see some of the little pop-up ones that we have here. These we used in our Supertunia Vistas for last year. And then we also have individual emitters to each Incrediball, and we didn't add any irrigation to the Nepeta just because they just don't need that much water. We also added individual emitters to each boxwood, and then also over here to these hydrangeas here on the front. So that has helped tremendously with making sure that everything's getting enough water, and that it keeps the water off of these hydrangea leaves because they are very prone to getting black spot. So the drip irrigation has worked really well in those areas, and I can't wait to see next year how the hydrangeas are going to look since they were just planted last year. Okay guys, we're going to head around to the back now. Let me open up this gate, and we'll talk about these back garden area. Okay, so exactly the opposite from the front yard, we have full shade almost all day in these back garden beds. So these beds were just rocks, and then we cleaned out the rocks, and we tried to decide what would be best to plant back here. They do get a little bit of sun in the late afternoon as the sun is going down, but primarily all day it is like this. So I call these my shade beds, and I was actually really excited to have some shade beds, especially inside of the fence, so that I could plant lots of hostas and the deer wouldn't be able to mess with them. So I have this bed here on the right side in the back, and then I'll show you the other side as well. Okay, so here is over on the left side, and this is my second shade bed here. We do have this little patio area because we have a shower here for the pool, so people can shower off. But in this area, lots more of the hostas and heucheras, and this was a beautiful display of impatiens this year. They did really, really well in this shade flower bed. Okay, so now that we're back here in the back, looking at the shade flower bed, one of the biggest things we've had to do is work on water around this house. So at one point, this gutter would just drain here into this flower bed, so it kept it super wet, and then it would leak up underneath the house, underneath our crawl space. So I added on this gutter extender with this black pipe, and it goes all the way over here into our little side yard area, and then it goes out into the woods there. And then we have another little blue pipe that we use for our pool. So that was one of the ways that we got the water away from this flower bed here. Then we also added a rain barrel. This is not lined up very well because we just had a storm. So this is our rain barrel that we added here on this side, and we're able to hook it up to our hose, and we can drain the water from this barrel. And I think this holds like 50 gallons of water, and it's actually full right now, so we need to come out and empty it. On the right side flower bed, we have the same kind of problem here, and so I added another extender to that gutter, and so it goes all the way through here. We added a little connector there, and then it goes down through here, and we had to dig underneath this sidewalk, which was a lot of work. And we have a little pop-up here, so the water can pop up into the grass over here, and this just kind of pops up like that, and the pipe is connected to it underneath the ground. So that has helped tremendously with the water that was coming off of this flower bed here. And it's also made the house underneath a lot drier. Then we also added another rain barrel here, because this gutter was going back into this flower bed, so we wanted to get that water away. This is also another 50-gallon barrel, and we just hooked the hose up down here. Okay, so the third thing that we had to deal with in our garden this year was chlorosis, and I have never experienced this before, and I wanted to show you where I first started noticing it. Around the back of our pool, we have hydrangeas, and then our pink grasses, pink muhly grass, and then we have these sedum here, the autumn joy sedum. And this is where I first started noticing the chlorosis. So right now they're dormant, but what was happening, and I can put a picture on the screen, they started turning a bright green color. And when they started turning the bright green color, then their pink flowers all faded to brown. So we decided to treat these with some iron tone, even though most people say that sedum don't need any fertilizer, but these definitely did. We have high alkaline soil and water here, and this is where I noticed the chlorosis the most, was on these sedums. So we treated them with the iron tone, and then from there we cut back all of the brown blossoms that were on them, and they came back the prettiest and brightest dark green color with beautiful pink blossoms. So the second place that we noticed the chlorosis was on the Incredibles, and I have since treated them with the iron tone, and then I also added in some compost around them and tried to cut off a lot of their bad leaves here, but you can still see they are still suffering with the chlorosis. So I think we're going to have to treat them a little bit more aggressively than we do the sedum in the back. They are looking a lot more better though. I'll post a picture of what they looked like before they were treated, and they're looking a lot better, but you can see some of the branches are still kind of suffering. I do try to come out here and pinch off the ones that are really bad looking. So that is chlorosis for you guys. So the iron tone seems to be working well, and because it's organic, it's not going to burn them if we put on, you know, too much. So we're just going to continue to treat these for the chlorosis, and hopefully as they establish their roots and get a little bit older, they'll do better. Okay guys, so this is the fourth and last thing that we've had to deal with this year in our garden and the lessons learned. It's deer. We have had a lot of deer, and they use our yard as a little pass through going from those woods over there to those woods over there. And they love hydrangeas. They love our roses. Luckily, they do not love the daffodils, so that was good. They didn't love the daylilies, and they don't love the boxwoods, and they don't love the nepeta. So all the beautiful plants that I love, like roses and hydrangeas, they love them too. So we have worked on treating them to keep the deer out, but let me show you what's going on with the roses and the hydrangeas. Okay, so these are our little lavender miniature roses, excuse me, and they have not been trimmed back once this year, but you can tell that they have been eaten back. All those little cut marks, this is where the deer come in here, and they just have like a little salad bar, all you can eat. So we've been trying to treat them with different types of sprays that will keep the deer from nibbling on the rose leaves and the rose petals. The next option I think we are going to try for this coming up year is to use a type of netting to go on top of them, which won't be very attractive, or maybe we can find the little cloches that we could use. But this is definitely the salad bar for our deer. Then they like to come over here and come to the hydrangeas. This hydrangea here, it died back because this is a new one. It died because the deer ate on it so heavily, and they were just, newly planted. These here made it, but you can see I've not done any trimming back to these hydrangeas, none. And the deer have just kept them so nicely trimmed back. Luckily, they bloom on new and old wood, and so they won't be affected with their blooms for next year. But we've got to work on a better solution, because it seems like even the sprays and the stuff that we sprinkle around doesn't really deter the deer that much. So we're going to have to go to other means to keep the deer off of these hydrangeas. So I hope that you learned a little something today, and I hope you can learn from our mistakes and our lessons learned this year, as this is a brand new property to us. And I hope that you can take those and learn those lessons in your own property. I encourage you to go in the description below and check out my other garden friends, their videos on the lessons that they've learned this year. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, friends.